you doing? Hey, girl. Hello. Okay, you two. Be good. Yes, hi, Max. Okay, let's go feed the horses. Good morning. Stuck to your feet. Oh, snowball stuck to your feet. See? It's cold. But the bison and their calves are over here. I'll see if I can come around and show you without talking too loud and scaring them away. They were just running back and forth. I'll turn this around and show you. There's a mama and her baby. It's definitely not a day for working outside. It is really cold. I think it's -6. It's probably not that cold. It feels like it's probably -4 with a -6 wind chill Celsius, by the way, degrees Celsius. So I think today might be a good day to do some cooking. I haven't done any pantry videos for a while, so maybe today would be a really good day to do some pantry cooking. I want to make pasta. Use up some of my eggs since my freeze dryer is not hooked up right now with the basement flooding. It's not hooked up and such. So yeah, maybe we'll go do something in the kitchen today. Sadie, it's miserable. So windy. Amazing how many robins there are here. Frozen water. Max, you have snowballs too. Yeah, I need to get them off. Oh, you poor boy. Ah! Come here, come in the garage, you can warm up. Oh, wind. Go on, Sadie, go on. Go on, go on. All right. So I have a ton of eggs to use up, and I thought it would be a great day to make some pasta dough. And so we'll do that in the food processor. Here's my recipe here. So I don't double these batches. I just do one at a time, and then that way it just works better. This is a very simple recipe. I just use my regular food processor with the blade attachment, and I use 2 cups of flour, just regular all-purpose flour. I use organic flour. And I use some sea salt, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, for those of you that don't like it when I just dump it in my hand. I wasn't quite accurate today, but so I topped it up to the exact measure. And then I used 3 eggs. These were really large eggs. And then I mix the egg and the oil, which is 1 tablespoon of oil together, and then slowly add the egg and oil into the flour in the food processor and just kind of pulse it as I blend it up. And it basically, with this dough, it doesn't take a long time. Like, you don't have to knead it for a long time. It only takes a few minutes to actually blend this up to the point where you can pull it out and knead it for like a minute, and then it'll be at the perfect consistency. So it's just a lot of scraping it down or pulling it out, flipping it inside out, and putting it back into the food processor. And it's so much easier, especially if you're doing a very large batch, like multiple batches. this method seems to just be so much simpler. A little tongue-tied. So you can see it gets very, very sticky, and that's okay. I don't usually add anything more. I'll pull it out and stretch it around and see if the gluten has developed in it. The goal for good dough is to have it bounce back, right? So have it bounce back when you push in on the dough. So yeah, I'm making another dough ball in the food processor here. Same method, just doing it over and over and over again. The eggs need to be room temperature, and then it needs to sit and rest for an hour at room temperature. I don't put this dough in the fridge, and I do not use refrigerated eggs. It does mess things up. See how this is like when I push my finger in there, it's not bouncing back. That means the gluten's not developed enough. So what I do is I just kind of work it like this. I stretch it, and then I'll knead it. And this dough was a little bit wet, so there was a bit of flour on the counter, and I sort of just kind of picked it up a bit. And you can see it's getting better. And every time you do it, if you're doing it by measurements, it will be different every time. So a person should actually measure this out by weight. I don't have a recipe for doing it by weight. I just wing it, and it usually turns out great. I'm no professional pasta maker, but yeah, you can see it's really stretched, it's tightened up. Look at it, just bounces back instantly. That means it's ready to rest, and it needs to rest for 1 whole hour. Any less than that, it just doesn't. Yeah, I like to leave it for at least 1 hour. I've left it for like an hour and a half to 2 hours before, and it was fine. Anything after that, then I would refrigerate it and then bring it out when you're ready to work it and let it warm up for like an hour to room temperature. But yeah, they just rest like that, and we want the gluten to relax in the dough. So I think that's why. I don't know. It seems to be what's going on when you rest it, and that seems to be what helps make a good pasta. So this is the first time I am using this pasta maker. Usually I just roll these by hand. I don't want to do that. I got this pasta maker. So this flour, it is semolina flour. I got it on Amazon. It's a pasta making flour. I really like it for dusting. It just works a little bit better for me than the regular flour and stuff. So I'll link that in the description below. This pasta maker, I'm learning, right? I found different methods I tried a bunch of different ways to this pasta maker, and I'll link this pasta maker down below too. I got it on Amazon, but the noodles are okay. These were kind of like a linguine noodle, and yeah, it was just a work in progress. This pasta, if you don't flour it really good before you put it in, it sticks. And what I did learn is that if the pasta is a little bit wet, like if it's a little bit more of a hydrated pasta, it doesn't cut very well. This also, like when I'm laminating, I kept putting it in backwards. So with laminating the dough, you want to flour it like that, and then make sure the floured side is to the outside. Fold it, and then put the open ends in the chamber first, and then crank it. It's just kind of a preference. And I did my setting that I cranked it down to was a 4 setting on this pasta maker, and they worked really, really well for making linguine style noodles. It was really quick and easy. I wish I would have had a pasta drying rack, or been able to just use my oven rack and hang them in my oven rack. But you can see what happens when you don't put flour on them. You get either a really nice loose pasta, or you get a big clump that just kind of melds itself together and becomes kind of gross and unusable, or more work for you later. I'm really happy with this pasta maker. It was like a $35 investment when I bought it, and yeah, it seems to do the job. I make sure that I put a really generous amount on this piece because it's more hydrated than the other pieces. And folding it. Make sure that it is on, yeah, see? Make sure that the floured side is on the outside, and then press the crease. And then the side that was not creased goes in first. And that makes a big difference in the pasta. I was getting ahead of myself and doing that backwards, and it's not, you don't do that, so it was a big mistake. I wanted to make lasagna noodles, but I realized I just didn't have the space to dry them, so I'll do that another day. And there goes the cutting. They're really nice little pasta maker. There's a few of them, because this dough was so wet, they didn't cut through properly, and I did read and troubleshoot on this machine, and that was why, but it's not a big deal. I made quite a bit of pasta. I made 3 batches, and there was quite a lot. Next time I will definitely keep going with the batches and make a big batch and dry them. I think I would put them in my freeze dryer and dehydrate them next time too, if my freeze dryer was set up. I think it would work good with this recipe. It's just a very simple process. It's messy, but it's kind of fun. I think Chaz would really enjoy it. This would be a good one for kids to do. And as long as you have the space to hang them and dry them, they'd be fine. Or I could have just put them in bags and froze them, but I prefer not to freeze pasta. I like them dried. So, and for drying this, you just let it dry. Like right now I have them on a cookie sheet in an oven, and I'm just basically letting them cure or dry. So it doesn't take a lot of effort to dry them. It just takes space. It is not fun to deal with the long sheets, which was why I was cutting them, but it is easier for pulling them apart. So that's why I just kept doing the long sheets. And then I just tossed it in more of that flour, and it kept it from sticking, and it worked really well. This is a really nice dough. It's very tasty and a great way to use up eggs. So the rest of the pasta that I wasn't going to be cooking for dinner, I just put some flour on a baking dish, and then I put that in the oven with a light on and just left it there with the door cracked. And I just pulled apart the ones that were extra hydrated. Made some dinner. So I didn't get the video this part of making the sauce, but it was just a homemade Alfredo sauce. I was cooking some chicken thighs for dinner, and I thought I would grill up some of the broccoli that I had in the fridge with these chicken thighs. And the chicken thighs, I just had salt, pepper, and garlic on them, nothing fancy. And I had some salted water boiling on the stove, and you want to get it moving before you put pasta in. Pasta that's fresh does not take very long to cook, but I want to make sure before I add it that the water is moving. So all of this stuff is homemade. Everything that I cooked for dinner, I can grow it and make it myself. Everything could be homegrown, homemade in this dish, and it was really nice to be able to do that. It smelled so good. It was really tasty. Tyson does not like broccoli that's cooked, but he did eat some of this and he enjoyed it. He also doesn't like chicken breast, so I'm trying to get him onto chicken thighs, and he really enjoyed that as well because they're not as dry. And it was a really good dish with that pasta. The pasta sauce was just homemade turkey broth that I used in it, butter, flour. What else? Oh, I used some cream, and then I don't use a lot of heavy cream in my pasta sauce. I use a lot of garlic, and I use a lot of cashew milk to thin it out. This broccoli, I just seasoned it with some Clubhouse vegetable seasoning, and it was delicious. And I took the pasta. I did reserve some sauce because I wanted to save it for a later use on a different dish, but I just took the pasta out of the water and I put it into the Alfredo sauce. It's very good. Very, very good dinner. And there it is, just mixing it all up. Oh yeah, there was Parmesan in there as well. It was just a very basic, I don't have a recipe for my Alfredo sauce. I just make it. So, but one from a jar would work just as good. And yeah, they cooked up really nicely. I could have had more noodles in there or took out a little bit more of the sauce, but it was okay. And with the chicken, it was a perfect meal for a snowy day. It was really good. Chaz wasn't here to taste test for you guys, but I would definitely make this again. Super simple, self-sustainable, all the way. This is what homesteading is about. I hope you give it a shot, give it a try. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.